Assalamu alaikum. The Flaming Crescent Society gets its name from Malcolm X, who said that he would name a new publication the Flaming Crescent because he wanted to set the world on fire with truth. We are an organization based on Malcolm's spiritual and political philosophy, whose main objective is to uplift our community and race by bringing self-knowledge, peace, and unity. Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, assalamu alaikum, Brother Ben. You know what, I would like to ask you, brother, what inspired you to do this in this community?
Inspired me. Well, I can draw off this one lady that I know. She had this pretty brown skin. Well, her skin looked like fudge. And her hair was white. And used to be braided up, and they used to call it plaits during that time. Her name was Betty Seals. She was a slave. Betty Seals happened to be my great-grandmother. My great-grandmother, Betty Seals, what I draw strength from, being a slave, she said, today, I'm not going to be a slave no more. I'm not going to be assaulted no more. I'm not going to get beat no more. I'm willing to die for my freedom. Now, she wasn't a big lady. She was a short lady, a small lady in stature. So one day, while she's out there in the cotton fields, she took this garden utensil and she hit the slave master in the ear and cut his ear off. And the slave master screaming, my great-grandmother Betty Seals is running through the cotton fields, and the slaves are ushering her on. She soon exiled to Chicago, Illinois. What a lady. Had a chance to sit there and look at her face, looking at the color combination of white hair and a fudge brown skin just fascinated me as a little boy. Then there's my grandmothers, Lily Allen and Willabelle Belcher. I'm a grandmama's boy. In fact, those are the ladies that taught me how to pray, because I watched them. I watched them in prayer. I look at my aunties, all of them, strong-willed, no-nonsense black women, powerful, sweet, but it'll take you down. I grabbed that inspiration from them. I can't forget my grandfather, Edward Allen. I call him the ultimate hustler. He had 15 children by the same woman, my grandmother. He didn't take options out not to go to work. He went out every day. He didn't miss a day. And then he would come home and cook for his children. I seen that work ethic in my uncles who imitated him. I also see that type of desire to work in my sons and in my brothers and my nephew. I seen those types of attributes coming from Edward Allen, a strong black man. I have some nieces. I say my nieces scare me because they can laugh and giggle at one time and then they can go from 0 to 10 in another. That's part of my inspiration. Then there's my sister. My sister. That's my only sister. I love her to death. But one thing about her, you know, there's an old saying that if they get into it with the bear, if she get into it with the bear, you better help the bear, because she's like that. My brothers will attest that she's the toughest person in our family amongst us boys. Then there's my crown jewel, my beloved mother. She sacrificed a lot for me. Her loyalty is off the charts. If I live to be 1,000, I can never repay her. See, all those people I just named, I embodied them. That's what inspired me to do this work. The day I stop doing this work will be the day that I take my last breath.
I'd like to ask you, what inspired
Well, like,
you? This is tremendous work.
Walaikum Salam, brother. There's two people who influenced me to do this type of work. That influenced me, my mother and my son. My mother used to tell me this story about her father long when I was little, and it resonated with me a lot. And she was like, these white people was the reason why my father died. They came to the house looking for somebody with the dogs, and the dogs picked up his scent, and they took him out into the woods, and they beat him real bad, you know. And he had got an infection on his leg that they couldn't, and he eventually died from that, you know. And that kind of, you know, that left a bad taste in my mouth about white people, you know. So, and then with my son, I had a 2-year-old son that was born with a muscular disease. He only lived to be 2 years old, and he died. But when he was in the hospital, they used to always be sticking needles up in him and everything, you know. I'm like, but he always used to have a smile on his face. So I'm like, well, if he could go through all this and don't complain, then all the things that's going on in life that I see, I ain't gonna complain about. I'm gonna just try to do some things, you know, to help people out. So that was my and after I read the autobiography of Malcolm X, that book right there, that changed my life for me to start doing things that I do now, like helping out in the community, building up the black man and woman, and things of that type of nature. And that's how I ain't got courage doing it. And older brothers who pull my coattail to some things like that, you know. And that's I keep my stuff short and brief. That's how I got it.
Good brother Shalom. Thank you, Crescent Society. Taking this tremendous in-depth, right, raising up dry bones, dead bones.
Well, I would like to first of all greet our audience with the greetings of peace of Assalamu Alaikum. And I'd also like to say, without education and information, there can be no inspiration or motivation. We must understand that the written word is more powerful than a loaded gun. We must educate to liberate. I say we must educate to liberate. I say once again, we must educate to liberate. I come before you all in the name of Allah and all of our great ancestors. I'm talking about all the heroes and sheroes, warriors and warriorettes, soldiers and soldierettes who came to wake us up and shake us up. I'm talking about people like the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Queen Nzinga, Winnie Mandela, Steve Biko. I could go all night long naming all of the greats that left a great legacy for us to follow, imitate, and duplicate. Brothers and sisters, to those that will be seeing this broadcast, I got started a long while ago as a young man at 19 years of age who came to me and shook me up with knowledge and information. He was an older brother who used to take me up to his room, and he would open up Black history books and introduce me to information about myself that led me down a different path from what I had been headed in. To make a long story short, after I embarked on the cultural knowledge and spiritual information, I made a promise to Almighty God that I would spend the rest of my life doing as much as I can to teach someone the truth, just as the truth had been taught to me. some years later, in my apartment on the west side of Chicago, while reading a book entitled By Enemies Necessary by Brother Malcolm X, I came across a statement in there in which he stated that if he had the opportunity to start another publication, he would name it the Flaming Crescent because he wanted to set the world on fire with fruit. So in my west side apartment, with the assistance of another brother by the name of Willis, we sat down and we put together a crude publication and got out on the street corners of the west side of Chicago, and we began to distribute our newsletter, and which spoke out against drug addiction, black on black violence, and was intended for the upliftment of the women and children in our community. Surprisingly, we had a very positive response about it, and that initiated the beginning of what we could call the Flaming Crescent Society, which again was to uplift Malcolm's spiritual and political ideology. One of my goals is to encourage our people as much as I can, and each and every one of us must understand that you have a personal job and responsibility and obligation to do everything that you can. Once you come into self-knowledge and information and cultural awareness and consciousness, then the responsibility falls on each and every one of you listening to this broadcast and in this room to do your part to touch, even if it's only one person. And let me say this here, in this struggle and effort to uplift our people, it's not an easy job. You're always going to run across people that they don't want to hear it, or they are not as conscious as you are, and they sometimes are negative and discouraging. But one thing that you have to be aware of is the fact that if you only touch one person in a lifetime, you've done your job, because that one person might touch another person, and that other person might touch a couple of other person until it has the snowball effect. So this is something that we should not forget, and we should also not forget the struggle and the great legacy of all of our ancestors. And remember the fact that you are alive is very significant, because you survived the genetic annihilation of our people coming across on those slave vessels for over 400 something years. So that is my reason for doing what I do. I get a great love out of touching our people with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And again, I'm going to be doing it till the day I die. So with those words, I greet you all with degrees of peace of Assalamu Alaikum.
Yeah, David, I want to find out what you got going on here at the Kufi Club. Tell us a little bit what's happening.
Yes, sir. So, first of all, my name is Brother David. I'm the founding director for the Kufi Club of Chicago. Also, I am a member of the Flaming Crescent Society, which is an organization, promoting Islam in the community as well as Black unity. And just to kind of give you a little background, I myself am a school teacher in Inglewood, and I've always was looking for a way to engage Black youth in our people's struggle for liberation. So one day I was at a friend's house, and I myself, wear the kufi hat a lot, which is the hat that I'm wearing. And the kid, he was a 5-year-old, and he asked me, he was like, "Man, what's that you wearing on your head?" And I explained to him what it was, and he was like, "How can I get one?" And then that's when I did hit me. I said, "Son, you got to join the club." Because see, when you wear this kufi, which is an African word that means crown, you have to carry yourself with self-pride, dignity, and self-respect. So in the Kufi Club, the kids earn the privilege and the right to wear the Kufi crown, and as they move up in the ranks of the club, they get different color Kufi hats and badges to represent their ranks. So we have an after-school program here in the Roseland community where we teaching young people Black history, we teaching them martial arts, we teach them close order drill, and a number of other programs that will help develop these young people to become agents of change in the community. And with me, I have my 3 daughters. Zamina, she's 2. She was born into the Kufi Club. And I have my other 2 daughters here. Introduce yourself, say your name, your age, and one thing you learned from being in the Kufi Club.
Hi, my name is David, and what I learned to be in the Kufi Club, to love myself.
All right.
Very good.
Hi, I'm Kamara, and I'm 6 years old.
Talk to 'em.
And what I learned to be in the Kufi Club is
Don't be shy. You told me knowledge of what?
knowledge of life.
All right. Okay. That's what I'm talking about.
All right. There you go.
Yes.
That's right. That's
All right.
That
Okay.
was great. That
Good.
was great. That was really good.
Oh yeah, we got Miss Jewel up here right now. Jewel, let people know what you got going on.
First, good morning, everyone. My name is Jewel Dixon. I've been crocheting now since I was 14. I'm an elder, and I've decided that at this time in my life, I wanted to share my skill with the youth in schools, in homes, and here at the Kufi Club. I'll be trying to teach the youth another skill that they will have for the rest of their life. Ladies and men, young children and boys can learn this art. Crocheting is a simple skill. Making hats, kufis, is one of the main things that we make. But the children can make scarves and gloves and tablecloths. But my purpose here is to share my knowledge and my skill with our youth. I've been introduced to the Flaming Crescent group for longer than long, but a long time. And it's been nice meeting all the people that I can share my skills to, and that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, to my right, we have Queen Evelyn Johnson. She's a community activist over in the Inglewood area, and she's going to tell us a little bit more something about herself.
Well, actually, I'm all over the city. I go where I'm needed. I work with who requests me to be there. I do life skills. I teach problem solving. I teach people how to do outreach. I teach people how to do street intervention on domestic violence. I do what I'm needed. I retired early because I found out social service agencies in the city of Chicago, they want to try to make parents believe that their children are bad because they've been sexually abused by somebody. That don't generally happen in the Black community. We tend to love our children. So in order to make positive change, I retired early to go out here and do what was necessary to bring about change in my community. I started an agency, A New Beginning Start Now, to do mandated parenting. And no, I don't accept any government money because you want controls that are designed to make agencies fail. So I do what I do and I get it done. Founding member of the Queen Warriors. I'm finna do the crowning ceremony for the second generation of Queen Warriors, which will bring our total to 150 young women out here doing stuff positive in the community. And I have 80 community sons out here doing stuff positive. And I'm gonna keep on doing it as long as I can wake up breathing.
Okay, Brother Charles, tell us what you got going on, what you're doing to uplift the community.
Well, for the past year, I've been working with the Kufi Club, and I've been working with the Kufi Club for the past year. And I've been, the first time I heard about the Kufi Club, it was in Argyle Gardens at at a school over there at Argyle Garden. It was just little children they were dealing with. And then I don't know what happened, but the principal shut it down for some reason. And then I heard later on by Brother Salim's here, the Flaming Crescent, which I've been involved with since since 1995, I guess. You know, we've done a lot of things in the community together. And I've been involved here at Kufi Club, like I say, for the last year. And I've seen it grow from, you know, just going to pick up the kids, now the children from the school down there. Now it's going to where we're teaching them drilling. They get martial arts training. And trying to open it up for the community to start doing some stuff out of here that relates to building not only the children, because you don't have a successful heritage unless you leave a successful legacy, and that legacy belongs to the elders, and it's got to be passed down to the children for the children to grab and hold on to and develop and grow into, so they can become people who lift up their community. Yes, the only ones that can do it are the people in the community, from my understanding of things. That's how your success is made. Outside agencies and outside other people, they cannot do what the people have to do. And that's how they have to grow and develop and sustain their own selves. I mean, other people can't do it for them, they have to do it for themselves. So, you know, that's one of the things I'm doing. I got on a shirt here, and this is called determination, and it's for self-determination. And what it says here is the red, black, and green. This is an umbrella. It's over everything that's up under what we are about. And the Janambi symbol here is it means fear none but God, and then the Ankh here, it shows that the woman, the offspring, and the man, that's for the family, and then the heart here is for love. And see, in the heart, in this situation, the heart is for red and the blue, which is our youth, because they're on one side or another. And bringing them together in growth, which is green, and prosperity, which is gold, binding them together in that will make us a successful community, because that's all we got to depend on. That's all we got, period, is our youth. That's our future. And if we can't get that together, it won't be no together, you know. So, you know, we've become more self-destructive and annihilate our own, you know, which is a sad situation, but it's been heaped upon us through our miseducation and lack of determination and a lot of other things that, you know, poverty and things like that have always been the things that cause us to fail or to have so much of a hard time we just give up. But in this case, we just can't give up.
That's right, Charles. That's right.
Whole existence.
That's right.
And that's what I gotta say.
Okay, thank you very much, Charles. Good job.
We got Brother Anif over here. Go on and let the people know what you got going on with yourself.
Assalamu alaikum. Walaikum salam.
Alaikum salam.
Yes, I'm here down here in Chicago. The things that I'm involved in terms of spiritual awakening of the African American people here in Milwaukee and Chicago, because the African American community is, especially amongst the young people, spiritually bankrupt. And that's it seems to be one of the most difficult tasks to accomplish in terms of waking up their spirituality, because so many of them are caught up in this sexism, materialism, and other things that lead to a lot of negative behavior that they imitate from watching television and other African Americans and Europeans.
that they feel that this is the type of behavior that they need to be about. So I'm about in terms of trying to correct that behavior and get them on the way. I want to understand that you got to be spiritually sound in order to deal in this materialistic world. Another thing I like to say is that I come up to Chicago and I like to support the Kufi Club and the Flaming Crescent Society. Brother Salim, he's been at it a long time. I think I ran into Salim about 8 years ago or so. So whenever he tries to give a lecture, whatever, I try to come up and support him because he lets a lot of things, a lot of knowledge out regarding the history, especially of the African Americans and their roles they played in the development of Islam in the early beginnings as well as present day Islam. That's about it.
Thank you very much, brother. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay, to my right is Brother Randy Evans. We call him the knowledge gangster because that's what he does. He loads up on information and shares it to wake our people up. Gonna let Brother Randy, who's been an associate of the Flaming Crescent Society for a number of years, a good supporter, say a few words.
All right. Good afternoon. Randy Evans. Been knowing Brother Salim for over 20 years. Been a supporter of the Flaming Crescent Society. For over 20 years, participated in the various forums and lectures that Brother Salim and the Flaming Crescent Society has sponsored over the years, over the past 15, 20 years. I'm here to support Brother Salim and the Flaming Crescent Society and other brothers and sisters who are part of the Flaming Crescent Society, as well as Brother David of the Kufi Club. So I'm just here in a fiduciary capacity. I'm just here just to support my brothers and sisters. That's about it. And I've been active just doing research over the years. That's what I like to do. And whenever Brother Salim asked me to participate in various forums and lectures, I try to be supportive. So that's it.
Thank you very much.
Rolling.
Okay, there's a hot take that's going on social media and mainstream media, and it's about R. Kelly, Chicago's own R. Kelly, and with the allegations that's going on with the young ladies, and in fact they're coming out of the woodwork now, but he never got charged with anything. What do y'all think about that? What's y'all take on that?
Let me go first on that. Years ago they charged him with dealing with an underage girl. He went to trial and he beat it because the girl or the mother didn't come to court. So that's how he beat that case. But what's going on now? I don't. To my knowledge, I don't know anything new. All the stuff that I've been hearing is just regurgitated stuff that already happened before, and I don't understand. I'm not a supporter of R. Kelly because he like young girls. That's a no-no, period. But we known about that when R. Kelly first got known. He got married to Aaliyah when she was 15, so you knew he liked dealing with minors. So if they didn't deal with it then, I'm like, I don't know.
What about Hugh Hefner? Hugh Hefner like young girls too. In Playboy Club, 16, 15.
Let me chime in. First of all, I don't like R. Kelly's music. I think it's having a deleterious effect on the social and moral fabric of the black community. And secondly, when I watched some of his previous interviews, he seemed like as though he was caught off guard by a couple of questions thrown his way, which kind of leads me to think that there's some guilt in the mix. I believe that he's being deceptive. I think that he's being, I think he's lying. But also what concerns me is the
forever true, 'cause you're my black brother, strong brother, and there is no one above you. I want you to know that I'm here for you, forever true. He's misunderstood. Some say that he's up to no good around the neighborhood. Well, for your information, a lot of my brothers got education.